morning. So this morning I'm going to use a roller and a ball. If you'd like to join me, you don't need either of those, but that's what I'll be using today. So this is where I'm going to begin. Just sitting on my knees and breathing. Okay, just hand maybe on your belly, maybe on your chest, and just breathe. Just notice where your breath is. It's about 10 to 5 in the morning here for me. So I've just woken up. So it's just a nice check-in to see how I am post-sleep, how yesterday impacted me, and maybe you're further along in your day, and just notice how your day has been with you and you've been with your day. So easy, 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 easy breath. Just you're checking in and you're being aware. And you can also set an intention for your day or for the practice. And when you set it, have it stated as if it's already happened. Okay? And then notice as you say it what it feels like in your body. So now I'm going to come into this roll here. If you don't have the roll, you can just come into child's pose. But I'm going to take the roll. Now the articulating point here is through the hips and then also through the shoulders. Okay? And the idea is to keep your bum to the heels, but of course if you need to place something underneath there, then go for it. And bring that forward. I'm going to take my knees slightly apart and just allow the roller, I'm just going to be pushing that roller, I'm elevating my shoulder blades. And then I'm going to move the roller off to one side and I'm going to reach the roller out that way. So I'm doing a bit of a side bend. And with this arm, which is the outside arm, I'm really going to allow myself to push through there. But you can see my hips are staying exactly where they are. This is a side bend, but with a shoulder movement. And then back to start. And do your best to breathe. And then come back into center. Okay. All right, and then put the roller to the side. And then we're going to come onto our backs. And we're going to move this leg up to the sky, okay? Or at least it's coming into flexion. Now this is the articulating joint, so I want your pelvis, if you're following along, just to stay quiet, so it's not, your pelvis doesn't lift way up. And then this opposite hand is going to come over, so this is still the articulating joint, that leg bone's coming across your body. And then the pelvis starts to lift, and then the pelvis to the spine is the articulation, and this shoulder here stays on the floor. Okay, let me show that to you again. So we're going to move this leg bone into flexion. So the knees obviously doing the knees coming along for the ride. The movement is driven from here. Pelvis is quiet. And now the leg comes across. So still the movement is at this leg bone on the hip. And then the pelvis starts to lift and it becomes a bit more of a twist. All while the shoulder blade and shoulders stay on the floor. And this hand is being really gentle. I'm generating it mostly through here. And just easy, 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 easy breathing. And then coming on back, and then this leg comes down. Okay, now we're going to take this leg up. And now the leg bone's articulating across, and it's coming across. My hand is gently guiding it. I'm not pulling with my arm. And my whole shoulder girdle is staying on the ground. So just super easy, easy breathing. And then come on back. All right, now feet are on the floor, knees are bent. Now we're going to take one knee to the belly and then bring the other knee to the belly. And hands are going to be on the knees on either knee. We're just going to circle around. Now the legs are moving in the hip sockets. So I'm not like reefing back to do this. I'm just moving those leg bones in the hip sockets. You can think about drawing circles with your knees and see if you can bring your awareness to your leg bones and your hips. If you think about it, your pelvis is the bridge between your upper body and your lower body. It also is the housing, so to speak, the physical housing for two of our lower chakras. And the second one's all about relationship and connection. And the first one, which is lower into the pelvis and down through to the feet, which is safety. Okay, and let's go the other way. So if you want to add some breathing to this, then it's the exhale is, or inhale rather, is when you bring the legs out, and then exhale as you bring the legs in. So the inhale is out, and then the exhale is this way. So it's kind of like there's space being developed here for that inhale, and then the exhale, we're putting gentle pressure and out goes the breath. Okay, lovely. All right, now from here, we're just going to do a little test for fun. I love working through the hips and the shoulders because they are the largest joints with the most ranges of motion. And when we're super stuck or congested in through either of them, issues can happen in other joints neighboring. So lots of times with knee issues, I find stuff in the hips, same with the ankles. And when there's hip stuff, there's often related stuff through the SI, the sciatica, the lower back, and the shoulder girdle can be related to the neck and then down through the arm. And then the two of them play off each other, right? So I've worked with people when they've released through their shoulder girdle and their hamstrings have released, or they've gotten more stability in their shoulder girdle and something happens to their knees. So there's all sorts of connections between these two, but because these are the largest joints, they have so much room for potential, right? And so that's why I really like to keep them well maintained, right? Or if you've got issues like back pain or carpal tunnel or knee stuff, to work in those areas as a place to find some relief, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to lift this leg up to the sky. And when you do that, just notice, does your pelvis start to rock, right? I don't want you to grip with your belly in order to have it happen. Just see if you can, with your awareness, just see if you can bring that leg up without that pelvis moving. If you have trouble doing that, then just scooch over to the wall, and then you can be here at the wall, and then cross the ankle over, and then do this, because we're ultimately going to do this movement. But here, you can just cross that leg over. Just do your best to keep your pelvis really quiet, okay? All right, so let me scooch back. And from here, we're just going to lift that leg up, or you can be legs up the wall. And now watch what I'm doing with this leg. I'm rotating this leg in the hip socket. Okay, so I'm going to do it on this side so you can see maybe more clearly. So I'm rotating that leg bone in the hip socket. It's just the leg in the hip socket. My pelvis is staying totally quiet, right? So I don't want, I've got my pelvis here. I don't want the pelvis, as I'm moving the leg, to do this, right? Because now that's a pelvis motion on the leg bone. Let me come into standing to show what I mean. So if I'm moving my leg bone on the pelvis and I'm not doing that, instead I'm doing this, well, now I'm not doing any hip mobility. I'm doing some stuff up and through here, and that can lead to a lot of instability. So what I want you to think about, and you can always do this with legs at the wall, is you're you're just moving that leg bone in the hip socket as best as you can. And then you'll take that ankle onto the knee. Okay? Now with this hand here, just take it to the outside of that hip. So let me show you here. And you're just going to move this leg towards the wall away from you. You're rotating the leg bone in the hip socket. Okay? Okay? And then switch sides. Pelvis is quiet. And then rotate that leg bone in the hip socket. Okay. And then bring that off. Now let's bring the ball into the mix. So now with the ball, you can be here, just lift your hips up and place the ball underneath your bum. Okay, so I've got it on one butt cheek. And you can just let it rest here and then just kind of roll out your bum. Right? And you can just find points that have a little tenderness to them. I like to call them sweet spots. They're often called trigger points. Okay, and so then you can just kind of move your leg around. So, like you see, I'm moving this leg towards the camera here, and the ball's right there. And I've just found a little couple points there that I can do that movement. Okay, and then let's do it on the other side. So you're going to take the ball into the other side, and then that leg's going to move out to the side. And just find a few of these. And all the while, just keep yourself connected to your breathing. All right? Okay. Now, let's come back to bringing that leg up, rotating it, and then taking the ankle onto the knee, and then just moving that leg bone. So it's all about moving that leg bone in the hip socket. Okay, and then other side. Okay, lovely. Okay, now you're going to bring your hands up and you're going to have your two sides of your thumb touching. Okay, like this. So now you're up like this and you're just going to raise the hands up to the sky. So the movement is from the shoulder blade, but think more, because you can't really feel or see the shoulder blade so much, just think about the shoulder lifting off the floor. Shoulder lifts off the floor. So it's not your neck that comes off the floor, it's just the shoulder that comes off the floor as the hands reach up toward the sky. So anatomically, this is a protraction and a retraction. You don't need to know that. It's just more that your arms coming off the floor, or the shoulders off the floor, hands reach up to the sky. And you'll see here that I'm super quiet in through this part of my body. It's just, the movement is the shoulder blade and the shoulder. And the arms and the hands are going along for the ride. Okay. Now we're going to move the arms over the head. And again, this is the articulating joint. The elbow is coming along for the ride. The hand is coming along for the ride. The ribs, they're not being held in. They're just being easy. They're soft and easy. An easy, easy, easy breath. Now only move in a range that there's no click and clunk and there's no pain or strain. You don't need to go for a big stretch. That's not what this is about. This is just easy movement of your arm bones and your shoulder sockets. Okay, and then bring your hands back down. And just take an easy breath here with your hands on your ribs. Now, come back to these guys, and we're going to take the legs into rotation this way. So you'll notice that my feet did not slide in. They're staying exactly where they are. All the movement is, this is the movement here at the hip. The leg bone is moving in the hip socket. The knees are coming along for the ride. The foot is coming along for the ride. So the movement primarily is right in this area, leg bone in the hip socket. Now I want you to slow it down a little bit. So make it a bit slower coming out. And then bring it back in. And this time, I want you to breathe 3 to 4 times to come out. And then super, super, super easy on the way back in. Okay, so where we're going to go next is onto hands and knees. So roll over to one side and come up into hands and knees. And keep your hips where they are, and you're going to move your arms forward. So the movement's through the shoulder joint. Okay, and I'm going to gently bring my hips back a bit. Okay, but I'm not all the way back into child's pose, and I'm not dropping myself to the floor. Okay, so let me show you again. So I'm here, and then the arms come forward. And there's a very gentle movement back. So this is hips and shoulders. I'm not rounding, I'm not arching. And just relaxing my head. And then this hand here, my right hand, is going to come underneath the elbow. Right? It's going to come underneath the elbow. So I'm bending my right elbow. Okay? And now I'm going to reach that left hand a little further forward. But notice that my hips didn't change. Just reaching that a bit further forward. Good, and then come back and then other side. Okay, lovely. And then come back up. Okay, now you're here. And let's take one arm over like so. And then start to rotate your arm bone. Okay, and then the other side. Okay, and then we're going to play around with eagle, so bringing the arms across and then up. Now you could just stay here, that's completely fine. Just when you're watching, make sure that those shoulders don't elevate. The movement is through that shoulder, and then the elbows move, and there's a rotation. There's a rotation at the shoulder. Okay, good. So let me show it this way. So I'm here, the arms come across. That's a shoulder motion. Elbows come along for the right, then the elbows bend. Now we rotate here to bring them up. And let's just do a little twist one way and the other way. Okay, and the other side. Add the twist. Alright, I'm coming back into standing. This time I'm going to use the ball. So in standing here. And I'm going to bring my foot onto the ball. Okay, and just gently move that ball along the bottom of my foot. Now look where I'm moving from. So I'm moving from my leg bone, but I'm also moving through my ankle a little bit. So pay attention to your movement as best as you can. And you can just rest the heel down if you can. And just find some of those spots that might be a little bit tight. Think about your feet as punctuating your posture. They're the ones that touch the floor. They're the ones that feel the earth, right? And we need to feel more of the earth right now. Oh, yes, don't we? It's very easy in times of stress. In the Ayurveda language, it's that we get really windy, which can bring us up higher in our body. And so we want to get a little more rooted. So this is one way just to feel our feet on the mat, just to connect even with our mind down to our feet. All right, good. Now, having done that, now come over here and just feel your feet here. Feel your feet on the ground. And then notice your breathing and notice your legs. And just notice you, yeah? Okay, so now let's play around with just bringing this leg up into here. And just notice this is the movement of the leg bone in the hip socket. Okay, and now we're going to rotate that leg. Right, so you'll notice that my pelvis is staying right where it is. Okay, so while you're playing with that, the idea here is we can lift this up here and then we rotate it. So we don't want to move so that the pelvis is moving, right? We want to just move through here. That's it. And then we can place the foot there. Okay, and then you can take the hands here. Now if you want to take that leg higher and you want to keep that pelvis quiet and start to move, it's the leg bone here. Leg bone comes up at the hip. See how my pelvis stayed the same? And then you can gently bring the foot over here onto the inner thigh. Yeah. Okay, and then gently take the piece off between the foot and the inner thigh. Good, and then bring it down. All right, now let's do the same thing on this side. So this leg is going to lift. Right, we're going to rotate. Whoop, whoop, and then just place the foot there. Okay, then we can start to bring this leg up if you want to. You don't have to. You can just stay right here. You can even stay here if you wanted to. Like my big thing is I just want to help keep improving how this leg bone is moving in the hip socket while also being stable through this leg. So if as you lift you're starting to do that, the tendency is to say, oh, just shift the pelvis back. But if you've done that, it lets you know you've already lost the stability. So you might not have it. You just don't have the capacity for it. So you can just stay here or here and build that capacity. Yeah? And then if you have it, then you can bring that up. And then bring the leg on. Hold on one sec. I could just feel that. Okay, so come on up. There you go. I'm going to bring my leg down here because that doesn't quite feel right this morning. Okay. Sometimes when I'm not feeling my foot on the floor, I like to raise my toes of my standing leg and just feel that bottom of my foot connecting to the mat. Okay, good. And then from here. Now, I'm going to move into a bit of a little series here. We're going to go from tree to high lunge and into some other stuff that I'm not sure that I'm going to do yet, but we'll find out when I get going. So we're going to come into tree, as we know, and then we're going to come back into high lunge. That's where we're going to start. Okay, but I'm going to face you so you can see more clearly. All right, so we're going to start here, and then hands are going to be here. Okay, so I want you just to feel the bottom of that left foot. and then notice where your upper body is in space. And so stay aware of here while also staying connected to your foot and through the leg. Okay, now the foot comes off, feel the leg, feel that leg, and then rotate and then step back. All right, so now you're in a high, often called a high lunge. All right, now let's bring the arms up into what I like to call cowboy surrender, just because it's so silly. Okay, now we're going to come through. Remember that eagle from when we were down lower? We're going to come into eagle. Now, if that doesn't work, just stay right here. Don't just follow me to follow me, right? So be aware of what's going on through your system, yeah? Okay, great. And then let that go. And then from here, we're going to just bring that back foot forward a bit. So now we're in a position that looks a bit like this. And then we're going to we're going to move ourselves forward at the hips. So this is a movement at the hips, like so. Okay, good. And now we're going to come into tree. Okay, so let's go through that again. So we were in tree, came back to lunge, stepped forward, and we took it a bit forward into pyramid. And then we came back into tree. Okay, we're staying on the same leg, by the way. Okay, we're going to come back into high lunge, step it forward, and then leg straighten, and we start to hinge forward at the hip. This is all hip. All of it is hip. So you see how my upper body has not changed at all. Well, it's changed, but it's changed because the movement happened here. So my upper body has gone along for the ride. So there, I rotate that leg bone, I step that leg bone back, I step the leg bone forward, and then I hinge at that hip. So the whole thing is from the hips. Good, and then forward. Okay, one more time on this side. So back it goes. All right, lovely. Okay, now come into standing. Okay, now notice what you feel. And now coming here into tree. And then high lunge. And then step it forward. And take it forward. And then come on up and into tree. Okay, let's go for it again. So back, step it forward, hinge. And for this last one, I want you to just stay connected between the ribs and the pelvis. So we're here, and we swing it back. So that we're not shoving those ribs forward. Really only go back as far as there's nice congruity. And then hinge. And then up. Good. Okay, and then come into standing. Lovely. All right, now notice what you're feeling. Okay, you're starting to feel a little more grounded. I know that I am. Okay, now let's come into a bit of a squat. Okay, so we're going to come into a squat here, and then we're going to come on up. Come into a squat, and come on up. Now let's just do a little lab. As we come into the squat, I want you to think about moving through your hips and your knees and your ankles. Hips, knees, and ankles. Yeah? Hips, knees, ankles. So it's not this, it's this. And it's not folding forward either, it's just this. Okay? So hips, knees, ankles. And I want you just to stay here for a sec. If you want to add the arms, then you can, or you can even be here. Good. And then come back up. All right, now we're going to take this ankle onto the leg here, and we're going to do the same thing. Now you might want to hold onto a wall. And allow yourself to breathe up through here, staying connected. And then up. And now for fun, let's take this foot off. We're going to just swing it straight back, and you're going to come into a bit of a mini warrior three. Not all the way, just mini. Okay, and then back, and then down. Whoop. Okay, good. And then you're going to come up, and then this way. All right, lovely. Okay, now let's bring that leg up, and then start to sit. Okay, and then up, and then bring that leg back. Whoops, I'm a little diagonal on that one, aren't I? And then bring it forward. And then up. Good. Here. Okay, let's do one more time on this side. So up, ankle, and sit. And then up. Good. And then back. Swing it through. Good. And then stand. All right, lovely. Okay, legs come wide. Rotate the leg bones at the hip sockets. Remember, the feet are going along for the ride. Leg bones are in hip sockets. Bend through here. Yeah. And just feel, take your hands to the back of your thighs and press those thighs back. That's it. And an easy, easy breath. Okay, now notice what you feel through your feet, and do you feel your feet? Good, and then come back up. Bring the legs back in, and let's roll those shoulder blades. So the arms come up, shoulders to the ears, roll them back, and then down. Okay. Okay, now come and face the wall. You've got one, or hold on to a chair. Just place your hands on the wall, bring one foot back, and then reach that heel back. And then keep the heel on the ground, and then bend that back knee a little bit. You'll be getting into a different part of your tissue through the calf. Good. And then other side. Nice. All right, and then come back up. Let's bring this arm up alongside the ear, bend the elbow, bring the other hand here, and just rest that down. Okay, and then other side. Okay, perfect. Okay, so now we're going to come back down to the ground. And I just want to test out two movements that we did earlier on and just see how they feel. So we're going to come back down onto the ground, and then this leg's going to lift up to the sky, and you're going to rotate the leg bone here and bring the foot onto the knee. And so this time, when you lifted, was your pelvis more quiet? Were you able to move through that hip joint a little bit better and bringing the ankle onto the knee? Was that possible? And then start to move that leg away from the pelvis. And then take the leg off. And then other side, lift that leg up. Pelvis is quiet. Rotate that leg bone in the hip socket. Ankle comes onto the thigh. And then ankle comes off. And the other one I wanted to notice and check in with you on is when you brought your leg up to the sky, or you moved into hip flexion rather, and then that leg comes straight across your body, and then you move into a rotation. And And the shoulder girdle is all on the ground. Okay, and then coming back. And did that feel any different? And then other side. Hip flexion, so that was leg in the pelvis. And then the leg comes across, then the pelvis lifts. And the whole time the shoulder girdle, my shoulder and my blade are on the floor still. All right, lovely. And then come on back. All right. And now rest back here. Taking your hands onto your belly or onto your chest or maybe beside you, and just be here and breathe. And I would love for you to circle back to the intention at the beginning of the process and just come back to it and say it as if you already have it or are it or do it. And then easy, easy, easy breath. Okay, now roll over. You can stay on your back if you want to. We're going to roll over and then come on into alternate nostril breathing. So we're going to take the hand. You can either use your 2 index fingers. I know that's blasphemy in yoga, but sometimes it's helpful for people. You can take the 2 index fingers and just place them on the, like where your nostril kind of flares in, like just before it flares out, like goes in. You can place your index fingers right there. Or you can use the mudra, using into your hand. There's lots of variations, but basically your thumb is on one side and your pinky finger is on the other. And either you fold in those fingers or you rest them on your forehead. It's just whatever is easiest. You can place your hand underneath your elbows, really anything here, okay? And so what you'll do here is you're going to inhale through both nostrils, and then you're going to exhale. And then inhale through both nostrils, and you're going to exhale. And then just plug the right nostril and inhale. I'm going to my left. Inhale through the left. And then plug the left and inhale through the right. Exhale through the right. And then inhale through the right and exhale through the left. So we're just going to kind of go this way and this way, this way, and this way. So just on your own rhythm. So do 2 more cycles now. So that you're exhaling completely out of your left nostril, and then breathe in through both nostrils. Awesome. Okay, well that's the end of my practice. You stay with your practice for as long as you need to, moving into Shavasana or into meditation or whichever next step it is for you. For myself, I am going to go upstairs and have a little bit of oatmeal. All right, so with that, palms come together, remembering that this is connected to your heart, both sides. So you're connecting your heart through your palms, bringing them together. And breathe in with ease and out with gratitude. I am so glad you joined me today, and I will see you in the morning. Have a great practice and have a great day.